Well, it's another pretty nice day today. I can't complain. I mean, it got that really hot week and then cooled off. It's supposed to get hot again tomorrow, but I don't know. I don't think it's, the humidity seems to be down. So Carolyn got some raspberries. I don't know if you're not gonna be able to tell the difference between the foliage, but over there, just past the trees, these trees here, is a bunch of raspberries, a raspberry patch. And then right at the wood line right there is another big patch. So she goes out daily and picks them. Now you would think we would eat them. She loves them, and I don't mind eating them, but she's been giving this to the chickens as a snack. So Carolyn says this is what she does so the chickens don't have to free range. She does the free ranging for them and takes it to them. I actually pulled some weeds before and threw it in there and let them eat it. Which kind of brings me to the point of this video. I get a lot of comments that tells me to do things like you would do on a regular homestead with electricity and millions of dollars, and we just do things a lot different. I'm not sure why so many people want me to do it like everybody else, especially when this is working so well and it doesn't cost a lot of money. I don't understand why anybody wanted to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on chickens. Don't get me wrong, they save us a lot of money in food costs, but the more you spend on your chickens, the less food savings you're gonna have. I've made the argument that these chickens are saving us a ton of money because I don't have to buy bread now. I told you that the other day. I would eat 3 or 4 peanut butter sandwiches every day. Not only is the bread bad for you, but it costs like $3 or $4 or $5 a loaf. I probably now spend like 10 cents a day on chicken eggs. That's about it. Just show you, there's another patch of black raspberries. I didn't know there were any over here. I gotta tell Carolyn about this. It doesn't make sense to spend a lot of money. And a couple comments I got right in a row yesterday that I wanted to address. Now, one of the comments I got yesterday is a very common comment. Let your chickens free range, it'll save you food cost, chicken food cost. That being said, we do let our chickens free range, except, like I said, we bring the food to them. One person said, let your chickens free range. And yes, you're gonna lose chickens and you're gonna lose eggs because they'll lay eggs out in the woods, you'll never find them. But it's okay because you're gonna be saving money on food cost. I love it when these little bird guys, that one is one that we just incubated not long ago. They're already becoming just like the adults, flying around in there. We had, years ago, Carolyn and I had 8 chickens, little hens, and we let them free range on the weekends. Now during the weekdays we worked, so we left them inside their chicken run and their chicken coop. It wasn't a lot of room, but it was enough for them. We only had these chickens maybe for a year. I only remember taking them through one winter. So it was either 1 year or 2, but I'm gonna go with 1 year. And then we had to move, so we got rid of the chickens and ate them. And by the time we got rid of the chickens, we only had 3 left. So letting them free range on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, we lost 5. And that was a pretty isolated area. We did have one neighbor, but they didn't have any dogs. Whereas here we have a lot of dogs that roam around here. That seems to me like that was a huge loss. In 1 year, you lose more than half of your flock. Now, Carolyn and I have enough chickens now that can supply us with food every day. So we eat what they produce. And I'm not interested in getting a bunch more and then storing them and water glassing them and all that because we just don't have the storage area. If we decided to let these guys out of the chicken coop, because that's what they tell us, the chicken run, that it'd be cheaper. But I don't see it being cheaper because you'd be constantly replacing chickens that you lost, and you got that growth range where they're not producing. So I don't know, let's say it's 3 to 6 months. You're feeding chickens, they're not giving you any eggs. That's a huge loss to me. So I don't see how that's cheaper. Now, one of the problems we have is we got a lot of dogs around here. It's one of my biggest complaints about dog owners is they seem to think that dogs have more rights than humans and they're allowed to just go anywhere they want. But perfect example, We did have our chickens in a chicken run, but we didn't have it really closed up. It was something that we could move around, made out PVC. Well, what happened was is the dog came around and scared the chicken out of the chicken run. So the dog immediately grabbed it. I showed you this last year. I think it was last year. Yeah, last year. And I followed the feathers all the way down the road. That wasn't even within, what, maybe 2 months of having them outside. We lost one. Now, that was pretty significant then because we didn't have a lot of chickens. We probably only had 5 or 6 hens at the time. So we were still trying to get our flock together and we lost one. Turned out the biggest problem was that flock had more roosters than hens in it. So the one hen we did lose was a massive amount. So then you got to redo it, and it's just, to me, it's a lot of money. Now somebody's going to say, well, you need to put a fence around your yard. That way you can free range your chickens. Well, again, I got to spend thousands of dollars to free range chickens, and it's still not going to protect them. Because I've showed you several times now, there are eagles in this area, and a lot of them. I mean, they're beautiful, and I really do appreciate having them around. The only time I've ever seen an eagle in my life until I moved here was in South Dakota. At the Black Hills, I saw one in a tree at one time. And I lived in Washington State, traveled all around it all the time, and I never saw one there. So it was a pretty big deal for me to see them, that one in South Dakota. Well, now, I literally had 3 of them sitting in a tree across the street from me. I tried to show you a while back, there was 3 or 4 of them eating a deer across the road over there. Well, it's down a ways, but it would have given away my location if I had to film that. So they're beautiful birds, but they will come down instantly and take one of your chickens. They're always flying over, checking it out. Then we have the turkey buzzards and the hawks and all that. And again, I really enjoy those birds. They're just beautiful, majestic birds. So it doesn't make sense to me to let them free range in the yard and fence it off. Now, another problem we have is the woods. Here in the woods, I lost one a while back. I mean, didn't lose it, but I knew she was down here. So I came down here and I was looking for her, couldn't find her. So I left her alone. What it was, they got scared and jumped out of the chicken run. 3 of them did. And I knew one of them was down here. So I finally left her alone. Well, then I heard her balking, trying to get the roosters to tell her where she was at, and she was going to follow the sound. Here we are. This is the woods that she was in. She was in this little patch somewhere right in here, and I couldn't see her. It was absolutely incredible. Well, then I had to walk all the way around into the woods and all the snakehead area to kind of shove her back up the hill. They get lost in the woods easy, and a lot of people say, oh, they'll find their way back home. Well, they might, but then you got to also understand, then they could go on somebody else's property over here. This over here is fenced off, and I do believe they could jump it. Another time, I was going to process a rooster, and he got loose from me, just jumped out of my arms, and then it came up over here. I couldn't get him. He just would not come out. So I ended up having to shoot him just so I could process him. And then we have one that jumped out of Carolyn's arms and a dog got. I told you that story. I don't know if that really counts in what I'm trying to say here, but it's still another animal, got another chicken. Now, we had a bunch of little baby chickens like we have now, and we were still trying to tighten up and secure the chicken run the best we could, trying to learn from our mistakes. Well, a fox came out early morning and just sat outside the chicken run. Just sat there. And it scared the little birds so bad that one figured out how to jump out, and the fox grabbed it and ran off and came back. I had to come down and scare him away. And then I told you about the bobcat. That would have been devastating. If that bobcat would have figured out how to gotten in there or whatever, it wouldn't have taken long for him to have eaten all of them. I still struggle with it was a bobcat. It looked a lot bigger than a bobcat, but everybody agreed it was a bobcat. It was just a very large one. It was as good size as a black lab. Now, Carolyn's got her little chicken cages up there. She's got 2 little chicken cages that she raised the the little babies in until we brought them outside. Her plan is to modify those a little bit. That way she can take 2 of the hens at a time and bring them out here and set them in the garden area and let them eat away at the weeds in the garden. But that's another thing, is the chickens will eat the garden items. Now, all this money that we just spent trying to let the chickens free range to save money is a lot more expensive than spending a few $100s putting together a chicken run out of things you can find on free marketplace. I don't think it's that big of a savings. I really don't. I don't think that you can feed your chickens enough on free range that they'll have a complete diet. You're still going to have to feed them food. I know I did when we had those chickens that we lost all the chickens, a few years ago. We still had to feed them, and they ate quite a bit. Probably not as much as what these guys eat, but they still ate a lot. So they're not even getting all their diet and nutrition when they free range. And every web page I've looked at says that you have to supplement their diet if they're free ranging. You can't just feed them grass and weeds. You still got to give them their protein, sunflower seeds. Carolyn's going to grow sunflower seeds, I think. Then the other thing, and I just want to mention this briefly, I was talking about how hot it is. Somebody says, well, you need to freeze water bottles and give it to the chickens. Well, I have an apartment size or a dorm room size refrigerator that's full of meat. I think people forget that we live off grid. We live off solar panels. We can't power that much stuff. You have to realize that when you're living off grid, you have to make sacrifices in some of your utilities, some of your appliances. So if you will, I would appreciate it if you'll click that super thanks button down there. So I hope I can inspire you to think like an off-gridder so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.